For those of you who weren't in the prior sessions, I'm Steve Martin. I'm the CEO of Shasta Cloud. Also, I am the chair of the OpenLAN project group. So I wear both hats. They're very synergistic. Shasta is built on top of open Wi-Fi, OpenLAN switching, and ultimately looking to build and continuing to build this ecosystem as part of this community. And obviously the OpenLAN is all about disaggregated models, open source, open systems, disaggregated models. But for many of you, you realize that disaggregation also means someone has to reaggregate. And in many cases, if you're a service provider, perhaps you have the resources to do this, perhaps not. But in most cases, if this thing doesn't continue moving, you need someone to reaggregate that for you. And so with that, let me talk a little bit about, put on my Shasta Cloud hat and talk about this. You know, commoditization is often a bad word, particularly when you talk about technology. I don't know why this keeps advancing. But in this case, I think what you've heard today is that commoditization is actually a positive thing. And what we're doing is building a solution that really is on top of that. I obviously have some timing built into this, and so moving me along, you know, when vendors have the stack, and if you look at Shasta, what we're really focused on is giving the service providers the ultimate stack. Maybe take this out of presentation mode. Can you do that? Take this out of presentation mode. Thank you. And so what we look to do at Shasta is really to bring a solution to service providers. And as you look at the progression of value of service providers, over the years, going back over the last 10, 20 years, really there was the resellers. And if you look at a huge part of the market today is just resellers. When I was with Ruckus Wireless, we had 15,000 resellers worldwide. But as the value chain continues to advance, more and more companies who were perhaps resellers before want to move into managed services, into recurring revenue, to not just making money on a box, but making money on a service and providing a valuable end service to customers. And ultimately, as you look at the market and as we see the market evolving, the managed service provider market is really the future. More and more companies, enterprises of all shapes and sizes do not have the resources, do not have the skill sets, do not have the time to do this all themselves. They look to many of the companies, many of the people that you represent to build solutions for them and to manage those solutions. And so they look to the managed service providers increasingly as the way to deliver IT to their enterprises of all types. Now, there are enterprises like the hospitality where there is no IT staff, but even you heard from, say, the gentleman from Join Digital. Increasingly, you see even Fortune 1000 moving to the managed service provider models. And then within that, the next step up, as we see it, and what we're trying to facilitate, is the managed service provider not just reselling one of the incumbent vendors. I think someone talked about before, 5 incumbent vendors today control 80%, 90% of the market. We see a paradigm shift happening. We believe OpenLAN is a huge part of that. The commoditization, if you will, if that's not a bad word, to bringing open solutions to the market where there's multi-vendor solutions and where the managed service provider can take the next step and really provide the overall platform that delivers the services to their customers and not just resell a third-party solution. Can you advance it one more, please? So what does this do? As a managed service provider moves to this type of model where they are delivering the complete platform, it changes the economics. We all know that there's a ton of economic pressure margins are tight, budgets are tight, and so how do you ultimately build a more profitable model as you deliver solutions into these marketplaces? And if you're the platform provider, if you're not just reselling and sending margin back to one of the incumbents, you can save because you can use more specialized tools to reduce your development time. Ultimately, we've talked about disaggregation and be able to, we just had a panel of ODMs and distributors where you can buy hardware at more factory direct prices without having margin stack on top of it, and ultimately increase profitability. And that's, at the end of the game, that's what it's all about, delivering solutions and being profitable. Next slide, please. Now it's working. Some magic touch. But as you think about this, obviously, it's still networking and it's hard. In fact, these solutions are getting more complex. So while there's a level of commoditization, certainly in the chipsets and some of the underlying firmware, and we're doing our best through OpenLAN to commoditize software stacks to make these building blocks more and more efficient to build solutions. But it's still hard. You still have to bring together wireless algorithms, cloud solutions. Obviously, security is a huge emphasis in making sure that the systems that you deploy are secure and that they are good against all the various threats that you might see in the real world. You can bring it together, and I think the gentleman here actually asked about kind of how easy it is to bring it together. There are still challenges there. This is why companies like Shasta exist, really to re-aggregate the solutions, to build a complete solution that you can then deliver to your customers. So what do? We build, if you will, kind of the networking engine. We build it on top of open source, and we're a leader in that community in order to bring these solutions to market. But we package it in a way that is really tailored for the service provider market. We're, if you will, kind of the easy button for delivering complete, integrated, tested, supported network solutions that include all the cloud firmware and the hardware, working with our ODM partners, both in direct sales models through the ODMs, as well as through distribution. But the MSP ultimately is the platform owner. You deliver the solution to your end customers. The end customer really looks to you for what that solution is and assuring that it's successful in their business. So for us, delivering the solution to the MSPs, doing it in a way that allows you to brand it with your own brand, so you're not just reselling one of the incumbent vendors, but really bringing your brand to the market in a way that enables you to enjoy the advantages of disaggregated networks, but without the headaches. That's really what Shasta is all about, and that's why we're proud to be part of the OpenLAN community and being one of the sponsors of this event. So, short and sweet. I think, any questions? Yes. That's a good question. For Shasta, we work with the OpenLAN community to develop the overall roadmap for OpenLAN, from an OpenLAN switching, open Wi-Fi. That's done by the community in terms of features. But then vendors such as Shasta, NetExperience, develop features on top of that as well. And for that, we work directly with our customers. So service providers who are our customers, we work with them to prioritize which features are important to them.
Any further questions for Steve?
Oh, one more.
Can I run your solution in my own data center? Is it virtualized or is it in a cloud in AWS?
For Shasta, we run a multi-tenant solution built on top of AWS microservices.
Okay. So
there are other vendors you could take. Putting on my OpenLAN hat, there is the cloud the open source cloud, so-called cloud SDK, software development kit, that is an open source component developed through the community. You can take that and deploy that anywhere you want. It has limitations to it, but for smaller deployments or for on-prem deployments, there are solutions available. But Shasta is available only as a cloud-based service.
In United States, or where is the data center living? Is that in Europe? Or?
Today for Shasta, we're in the US, but in Q1, we're expanding both into the EU as well as spinning up a instance in Australia.
With the GDPR rules, AVG?
GDPR, SOC 2 compliant. Yes, this is what we do as a vendor.
Okay.
You know, I know more about GDPR now than I ever thought I would. But yes, as this is one of the values as a cloud vendor that we bring as an overall solution vendor, is making sure that we have the proper regulatory and compliance requirements, including GDPR requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, if I'm interested in talking to you after this meeting, do you have a booth back here somewhere?
Yes, we do have a booth back there. And a loaded question, Trevor Olson is our VP of Sales for the service providers. So this is a paid advertisement. But
I love that.
Please come talk to us. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Awesome.
Jaspreet.
Thank you, Steve. And as he exits, Shasta's been a great supporter of OpenLAN, Open Wi-Fi. There's been a lot of technical advancements that Shasta is putting back into the community. So again, thank you to that.